Hey everyone, gather around. I've got this story that stayed with me for a long time. It's one of those foggy, mysterious tales that sticks in your mind. It's called The Veils of Eldridge Hollow. Let me tell it to you the way I remember it. The fog never lifted in Eldridge Hollow. It clung to the slate roofs like a shroud, swallowing street lamps whole and turning every footstep into an echo from another world. Locals swore the mist was older than the town itself, born from the black river that carved the valley and poisoned by secrets no one dared speak aloud. Travelers passing through would say the town felt alive, watching them with hidden eyes in the gray. Private Detective Jack Harlan arrived on a Tuesday that felt like midnight. His battered Ford sedan pulled up outside the single-story Eldridge Inn, its faded sign creaking in the damp wind. Jack was 42, broad-shouldered but hollow-cheeked, with three-day stubble and eyes that had seen too many locked rooms and broken alibis. He came because the money was good and the case sounded simple. Find Eleanor Voss, the 19-year-old daughter of a wealthy mill owner who had vanished 3 weeks earlier. He didn't believe in simple cases anymore. The innkeeper, a wiry woman named Mrs. Carver with fingers stained yellow from decades of cigarettes, handed him a rusty key and a quiet warning. "Stay off the moors after dark, Mr. Harlan," she whispered, "and don't ask too many questions. The fog takes what it wants." Jack gave her a thin smile. "I've been taken by worse." The Voss mansion stood on the edge of town like a Gothic sentinel, half devoured by ivy and mist. Reginald Voss, Eleanor's father, met Jack in a study thick with the smell of leather, pipe smoke, and fear. The big man had gone soft around the edges, his jowls trembling as he described the last night he saw his daughter. "She was upset about something," he said, voice cracking. "Wouldn't tell me what. Said she was meeting a friend by the old lighthouse. Then, nothing. The police found her scarf on the rocks below, but no body. They called it suicide or an accident." Reginald looked up, eyes desperate. "I know my girl. She wouldn't do that." Jack took careful notes in his worn leather notebook. "Any enemies? Business rivals? Boyfriends?" Reginald hesitated just a second too long. "The mill's been struggling. There's talk of irregularities. And Eleanor had been spending time with that artist fellow, Lucien Blackwood, down by the river in the old mill cottages." Outside the tall windows, the fog pressed against the glass like it was trying to listen in. Jack's next stop was the police station, a squat brick building that looked like it had surrendered years ago. Sheriff Harlan leaned back in his creaky chair and chewed on a toothpick. "Girl probably ran off with some city boy," the sheriff drawled. "We looked, no signs of struggle. Fog gets thick around here. People lose their way. Happens." "Her father doesn't think so," Jack replied evenly. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "Her father's got more secrets than the town graveyard. You'd do well to remember whose town this is, detective." Jack left with a copied police report that told him almost nothing, but scribbled in the margin of one page was a single word that sent a chill down his spine: lighthouse. The old lighthouse stood on Blackthorn Point, a crumbling stone tower surrounded by jagged rocks and crashing waves. The fog here felt heavier, almost oily. Jack climbed the slick path, his flashlight heavier, almost oily. Jack climbed the slick path, his flashlight cutting weak golden beams through the gray. At the top, in the lantern room, he found an easel and a half-finished canvas. The painting showed the lighthouse, but twisted. Windows glowed with an unnatural green light, and shadowy figures moved through the mist below. A voice behind him made him freeze. "You shouldn't be here." Lucien Blackwood was tall and gaunt, with wild black hair and eyes that burned like he hadn't slept in days. Paint stained his fingers. "I'm looking for Eleanor Voss," Jack said calmly. Lucien's face crumpled with pain. "So am I. She was special. She saw things others didn't. Patterns in the fog. She said the town was hiding something ancient." They talked for nearly an hour. Eleanor had discovered discrepancies in her father's ledgers, large sums disappearing. She had also become obsessed with the local legend of the Lady of the Mist, a ship that wrecked in 1878. The survivors supposedly brought something back from the sea, something that fed on secrets and grew stronger in the fog. Before Jack left, Lucien pressed a small iron key into his hand. "She gave me this the night she disappeared, said it opened the truth." That night, sleep wouldn't come for Jack. From his window at the inn, he watched the fog swirl in unnatural patterns, almost forming shapes, and faintly, very faintly, he heard music, haunting and distant, drifting from the direction of the river. The next morning, he visited the old public library. Elderly Miss Hargrove knew every rumor in Eldridge Hollow. The Voss family built this town on the mill, she whispered, but their real fortune began after that shipwreck. People who dig too deep tend to vanish, Mr. Harlan. Be careful. Jack found yellowed newspaper clippings, dozens of disappearances over the decades, always in the thickest fog, always near the mill or the lighthouse. He decided it was time to follow the money. Breaking into the mill office that afternoon, Jack discovered the hidden ledgers. Reginald Voss wasn't just cooking the books, he was running a smuggling ring. Opium, stolen antiquities, and something called mist essence, a hallucinogenic compound supposedly harvested from the fog itself. The product left town hidden inside bolts of cloth, but Eleanor had found the proof, and she had confronted her father. At dusk, Jack returned to the Voss mansion. The fog was so dense he could barely see his own hand. Reginald met him at the door with a shotgun. "You should have left well enough alone, detective." A struggle, a gunshot, shattered glass. In the chaos, Jack spotted a hidden panel behind the fireplace and dove through it as another shot rang out. The passage led deep underground into natural caves beneath the town. Greenish phosphorescent moss lit the dripping walls. The air smelled of salt and decay. And there, chained in a makeshift prison, was Eleanor Voss, alive but pale and terrified. "Dad said the town needed me," she sobbed. "The mist, it demands a sacrifice every generation to keep the secrets hidden." Jack freed her quickly, but as they tried to escape, the fog itself poured into the cavern like a living thing, thick and whispering with the voices of the dead. Reginald appeared at the entrance, eyes wild. "It's too late. The Hollow takes what it's owed." What followed was a nightmare. Jack fought not only Reginald, but the illusions the fog conjured. Visions of his own failures, his dead wife, every regret made flesh. Eleanor screamed as shadowy tendrils reached for her. In the center of the chamber stood an ancient iron chest. Jack used Lucien's key. Inside lay the heart of the curse, a glowing orb of condensed mist and a journal that hurt to look at. The orb was the parasitic entity feeding on guilt and secrets, birthing the eternal fog that protected the town's crimes. Jack smashed the orb with a heavy rock. The explosion of light and sound shook the caves. The fog recoiled violently. Reginald screamed as the entity turned on its master, dragging him into the collapsing tunnels. Jack carried Eleanor out just as the ground gave way behind them, and that is how the sun finally rose over Eldridge Hollow with a clarity no one had seen in living memory. The fog lifted. The smuggling ring was exposed. Lucien's paintings, now free from the distorting influence, brought new life to the town, and Jack Harlan drove away on a clear morning, glancing once in his rearview mirror as a single thin wisp of mist curled across the road far behind him. He kept driving, because some towns keep their secrets, others just learn to hide them better, until the next time the fog rolls in. That's the story of Eldridge Hollow. What do you think? Would you step into a town like that or keep driving? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening.